Hi there, this is Stephen, Club Scapegoat for Canterbury Crusaders. Me and Lawrence are off to a 1,250 point tournament in a week's time, held at GWHQ in Nottingham, called Invasion. So we're going to try and do a sort of quick rundown of what units we were taking. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown of my list before we jump onto Lawrence and he'll go through his list. Dark Eldar, no Eldar allies in this one, too small a points value. Every vehicle apart from the Razor Wing has Night Shields, which reduce range by 6 inches. Very helpful if you want to stay out of rapid fire range of Marines. Basically, quick rundown, troops wise, we've got 2 squads of 5 witches with Haywire grenades, both in Venoms. Both Venoms have dual cannons and the Night Shields. We've got Homunculus as a HQ choice with the Shatter Shard, because that always scares people when you fire that off on them. We've got a unit of 5 racks in a Raider. They've got a liquefier, the Raider's got a Dark Lance and Night Shields. We've got 5 warriors, just with splinter rifles, in a Raider with a Dark Lance, Night Shields and splinter racks for the re-rolls. We've got 2 Ravagers, 3 Dark Lances apiece, Night Shields as well. 2 Trueborn squads, and they're 3-man Trueborn squads. They've got 2 splinter cannons and just a generic guy. Again, in Venoms, 2 cannons and the Night Shields. Then we've got our anti-air, which is Razor Wing jet fighter with 2 Dark Lances, the standard 4 monoside missiles, splinter cannon, and the flicker field to give it the 5+ invulnerables. It never has to do any of that dodging stuff. So in a minute we'll come back with Lawrence's list, and then after that we'll get a practice game in.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Arnold, Chairman of the Canterbury Crusaders. Next week I'll be attending a tournament at Warhammer World with Stephen, Warhammer Invasion, played between the local GWs in Kent. I'll be taking up a Space Marine army based on the size of the Emperor. I've tried to keep it as fluff based as possible, keeping with minimum troop choices but mainly scouts. There have been a couple of additions I've made just to make the army more viable. One of those being my HQ choice, which is Lysander. For my troop choices, I've got a squad of 10 sniper scouts with camo cloaks, a missile launcher and Sergeant Tellion. For my other troop choice, I've got a standard 5-man tactical squad in a drop pod. I then have 5 Stern Guard in a drop pod with 3 combi flamers, and the main unit to go with Lysander is a 10-man Stern Guard squad with 2 combi melters in a drop pod. I have a Storm Talon with Typhoon missile launcher and an Aegis defence line with a comms relay, just to make sure my drop pods turn up sooner rather than later. And hopefully the army will do quite well, but I have to wait and see.
Right, this is our table for the game. We managed to get hammer and anvil, so we're end to end. That's my end of the table, that is Lawrence's. We have big guns never tire, so we've got 4 objectives. There is one there next to my Ravager. There's another one just outside my deployment zone there, and then over in Lawrence's deployment zone there's one behind the Aegis line, and that's another one on top of the ruins, the bolstered ruins in fact, that Tellion's scouts are hiding in. Lawrence managed to roll Skyfire Nexus with that, so that's going to be fun, as well as a -1 to my reserves rolls, so my plane ain't coming in anytime soon. I managed to roll nothing of note with my Ravager. In reserve, I've got my Razor Wing jet fighter and my 5 warriors in their Raider. Lawrence has everything in his drop pods, and the only thing on the table at the moment is his scout squad. I managed to roll the redeployer unit strategic trait, so I decided to redeploy my Homunculus and his bodyguard on 3d6, and they went a whole 5 inches. So that wasn't particularly useful. Okay, so we'll come back at the top of the end of my turn 1, because Lawrence failed to seize the initiative. Right, my turn 1 was rather predictably lots of moving around. Most things turbo boosted further up the board. I only managed to kill 2 scouts with a combined fire of 2 Venoms, 1 Trueborn squad and that Ravager there. Everything else turbo boosted, so we'll come back at the end of Lawrence's turn 1 when I'm sure he will have got first blood.
Size of the Emperor turn 1. The squad with the rocket launcher in fired at a Venom, but unfortunately it was saved due to Stephen's jinx save. The drop pods came down exactly where I wanted them amongst all the Venoms. After getting out and shooting everything they could, they managed to destroy 2 Venoms by glancing them out. Sadly the combi melters did nothing, but Still, first blood to me. 2 of Stephen's Venoms are down, restricting his movement, and I should hopefully be able to kill the guys that came out of them relatively easily. And it's over to Dark Eldar turn 2.
Right, end of Dark Eldar turn 2. We pretty much focused in on everything in our deployment zone. As you can see, Lysander and his accompanying squad are pretty much dead. Shattershard devoured Lysander. 2 guys left of the Sternguard squad in total, although they did pass their leadership check. That drop pod actually exploded, killing 3 of the 5 witches that haywired it. There are those 5 Sternguards still alive, and that drop pod is still in one piece, despite everything that I threw at it, basically my entire army. As you can see, my Razor Wing jet fighter managed to come in despite Lawrence's -1 to my reserves rolls. That was pretty much it. That was a crippling blow to Lawrence this turn, which is a little unfortunate. It doesn't really give a good play test through of Lysander and that squad, but we'll see how it goes into his turn 2.
My turn 2, after the disastrous turn of Stephen shooting and killing a lot of Marines, including Lysander, my Talon came on and with some help gunned down his jet. The squad there killed the 3 True Bomb. The Flamers had a crack at the Homunculus' unit and killed 3 out of that. And I managed to bop off 1 witch with a Stormbolter shot from that drop pod. Other than that, pretty standard turn. See how the game goes from now on.
Right, so Dark Eldar turn 3. The Homunculus and his 2 remaining bodyguard jumped back in the Raider. Their liquefier gun was AP1 and failed to wound those 2 Marines. The Dark Lance missed. Pretty much the entire army went against that 5-man Sternguard squad there, and there are still 2 of them left alive, and they passed their leadership check. We have put a hull point on that, and it can now only snap fire this turn. And we've taken 1 hull point off that one, but apart from that, that is it. So it's on to Lawrence's turn 3.
Size of the Emperor turn 3. The Talon flew forward and took out the Raider with the Homunculus and the Rex in it. Threw a couple of grenades at the Venom, but unfortunately didn't do anything. The Witch over there got shot by Stormbolters from the drop pod and died. And the snipers down here fired what they could at the Rex, but unfortunately due to cover saves and feel no pain, they survived.
It's Dark Eldar turn 4. This turn 2 Ravagers fired all their Dark Lances at that thing, stripped a single hull point. It is however stunned, so it's only going to be moving 18 inches. Lances dodge with it as well, so it's going to be snap firing and it can't turn. Managed to kill those 2 Sternguard off there with pretty much every shot in my army, because they got crazy with their saves. And there is 1 Sternguard left alive there in assault with 2 witches. The other 3 glanced out the drop pod with haywire grenades, and that 1 drop pod is still alive with 2 hull points. So we're on to Lawrence's turn 4.
Marine turn 4, rocket launcher fired at the Venom, did nothing. Flyer took 2 hull points off the Ravager, and the 1 Space Marine is still alive there. Dark Eldar turn 5.
Right, that's the end of my turn 5. Lawrence requested we call it there, because it hasn't gone very well for him. Assault there, which has killed that last Sternguard. The Homunculus and the 2 scoring racks moved through the remains of that drop pod to hold that objective. That Ravager, due to it being big guns never tire, is holding the objective there. Lawrence has got 1 still up there. There are still 7 scouts left, and with a 2+ cover save, I'm not going to make a massive dent in them, I'm afraid. Did manage to shoot down the Storm Talon. That drop pod, however, is still intact. In the end, we're looking at Lawrence has 3 points, 4 points if you count First Blood, plus the objective. I've got 7, which is 2 objectives with 3, and 1 for Slay the Warlord for that lucky Shattershard on Lysander. Right, so Stephen back with the invasion report, just to let you know what happened on the day. First game, got drawn the Relic, which is obviously horrible for Dark Eldar. Vanguard Strike and Night Fight. Got drawn against a Space Wolf list. It was quite a good Space Wolf list, the sort of thing you tend to see. 2 squads of Long Fangs, Terminator Wolf Guard at the front of every single bleeding squad. basically came down to pretty much the last turn, and my opponent rolling atrociously. I got him off the relic. He had literally nothing left. I'd killed his warlord, I had line breaker, he had first blood, that was it. So we took a break. Turns out Lawrence ended up playing a courtier's henchman, psyker, spam, razor spam list. It was pretty nasty. He got quite brutally beaten. Don't think that was particularly enjoyable for him. Second round, night fight again. I remembered to roll drugs for my witches, managed to get Feel No Pain off, so that was pretty good. Round 2 was Scouring, standard deployments in Dawn of War. Really simple against Craftworld Eldar. Night fight again, I got first turn again, as I did in the first game. To be honest, the guy was really good as but his list unfortunately took an absolute pounding from mine. By the end of turn 2, he had like 2 units left. He conceded on his turn 3 with a Howling Banshee and a Howling Banshee Exarch left. Lawrence had a reasonably close game against a Khornate themed Chaos Marine army, where it pretty much came down to Lawrence had 2 drop pods and the other guy had 3 obliterators left at the end of the game. Unfortunately, Lawrence lost that one as well. So my second game, again, another win. Pretty much via tabling. I held 2 or 3 of the objectives, plus had all the secondaries. But it was a good game, guy was really nice. Third game, Lawrence beat the absolute smeg out of his opponent, from my understanding. Whereas I lost, unfortunately. I was against a Necron list, mainly sort of 3 AV-13 vehicles, Oberon and his little friend Zandrek. To be honest, a very close game. It was kill point, which was really annoying because it meant Dark Eldar automatically on a back foot. Just was really atrociously bad dice rolling. My first 2 turns, every single Dark Lance missed or did nothing. Same for, I had 2 full Venoms and a Trueborn squad trying to shoot up a unit of Wraiths for 2 turns and nothing. It was terrible, some really bad luck. Once he started popping my stuff, it was pretty much table him or lose. Again, I rolled an fight first turn though, and Feel No Pain drugs on the witches, so that seemed to be some sort of theme I had going on there for the rest of the day. The difficulty was the 2 characters with the 2+ army saves. Got to the end of the game, he had those 2 and a single immortal on the table in my deployment zone. He had 2 immortals in close combat with my homunculus and his rack bodyguard, and an undamaged Night Scythe. I was running around with an undamaged Venom. One of my squads of witches still alive, an undamaged Ravager, an immobilised Raider, my homunculus and 3 of his racks were still alive. It was just unfortunate, ended on like turn 5, so I didn't have a chance to try and get back in the game. Would have been fun to have thrown 1 little haywire grenade and taken out that flying cross onto a flyer. Generally speaking though, he played very well. It was a really tough, difficult game. The point scoring, I wasn't a huge fan of it. First game, you had 5 points for a win, 1 point for a loss, 3 points for a draw, and escalated. So second game was 10 points for a win, third game was 15 points for a win. Now I won my first 2 games quite soundly, but lost my third game very narrowly. Which means I scored the same amount of points for victories as Lawrence, who won his final game, but lost his first 2. So obviously it was a bit weird in the sense that I had 2 very difficult games, because the first game was random opponents, after that it was Swiss pairing, so obviously I was up on the top ends of the tables for winning, which made it a bit weird because it meant that, like I said, people with easier games for their third game, shall we say, found it easy to pick up a win and get the same sort of points I did. I managed to get 16 out of 20 on the painting though, so that pumped my score up again a bit. Overall though, the day was really good fun. It's definitely something I would like to try and do again. Perhaps try and drag more of the Crusaders along next time. Or maybe get some of the guys who normally go to Throne of Skulls and go with them. That would be an interesting experience from what I've been told. But no, all in all, I think we both had a good day of it, and we're definitely interested in doing maybe the doubles events at some point as well. The only other thing I had a bit of an issue with was there was this rules pack, you know, have all your models painted, have this, have that. Half the armies weren't painted, which was a bit annoying. Okay, we got bonus points for it, but as it was in the rules pack, I don't understand how they were even letting them play. There were people who didn't know what the hell they were doing. So that was our invasion report. Hopefully you liked it. We'll see if we can rope some of the guys who go to Throne of Skulls into doing something similar perhaps next time. and we'll try and get some more battle reports up on the YouTube as soon as possible.